Joyful blessings. This is Caitlin Castell, and I'm super excited to share with you about the September 29th, 2023 Aries super full moon. This is the fourth super moon, or meaning closest perigee full moon of this year, 2023. Share a little bit more about that in a moment. And the theme for this full moon is taking inspired action and restoring cosmic justice. So I thought we'd start by inviting the Aries mysteries before we dive into a little bit more about the cosmology of this particular full moon. So here's the invocation. O fierce and mighty Aries warrior protector, committed to your sacred cause and noble mission, actively restoring the cosmic balance first within and then without. Through wise use of our immense power and courageous strength, and through our willingness to commit to engaging inspired action, we are stepping up to fully express our wild, untamed cosmic soul. Acting from our gallantly valiant and brave hearts, boldly committed to activating and cultivating our divine fire, furthering cosmic justice by committing to our holy mission, illuminate what most enlivens our soul, inspired direction and purpose. Fuel us with the resolve to powerfully meet any challenge we encounter. When we see injustice, power over, and suffering in our world, help us first to turn within, to cultivate our steadfast resolve. As we meet our personal demons with fierce love and compassion, and actively commit to healing our own distortions, guide us in knowing what inspired actions to take that will right the wrongs, protect the innocent, promote the common good, restore justice and balance as we rise up to further facilitate healing, renewal, and wholeness in our world now. We give thanks this is already done, it is already so, and so it is. Blessed be. So here's the Aries full moon chart, just so you get a chance to kind of see what's going on here. Here's the moon at 6 Aries, the sun at 6 Libra. We're going to also just note that the North Node and the dwarf planet Eris are conjunct, pretty much exact within a minute of exact conjunction at the time of the exact full moon. And Chiron's also sitting between the moon and the Eris North Node conjunction. Plus, we have Pluto still in square to the nodes, and I'll show this a little bit more in a moment. And the square, but here you can see Pluto is square the North Node within about 4 degrees, and also within about 6 degrees of Mars. So this is really adding alchemy. The alchemy of Pluto itself is about what is being transmuted and transformed. And if we think about Aries being committed to restoring cosmic justice, then what needs to be alchemically transformed in order for that to happen? Eris is also known for disrupting or dismantling the old ways of relating to restore healthy ways of experiencing relationship with self and others. And I will put a link in the show notes to the story of Eris and what happened when she was discovered back in 2005, or a little bit earlier than that. But you know what that created in the astronomical community. And then also with Mars being here, the sacred masculine energy also being really illuminated by this full moon as well. And we'll see that. Plus we have Pallas Athena exactly conjunct the sun. Well, I guess we'll see that on this next chart. So we have the Libra features here with the sun and Pallas Athena super close. Now, Pallas Athena represents the wisdom of the feminine born from the head of Zeus in the Greek mythic telling. Her symbols are the owl and the snake, and she herself was a powerful symbol for independence and wisdom in ancient mythology. Also a feminine warrior goddess, and that's really what Aries is all about, is being a warrior goddess. So but Pallas Athena is also representative of that. So that is in this comes into play, bringing in the Libra mysteries. So in Libra, opposite the Aries full moon, we can imagine that she is standing for the restoration of healthy relationship between the masculine and feminine. And with Mars also undergoing an alchemical transformation, Mars will be exactly square Pluto on October 4th. And I'm exactly conjunct the North Node, but it's also coming into square to Pluto as well. So this energy of this full moon will be felt for quite a while after the full moon. Now here is, the full moon is on September 29th, but on September 28th around 6:30 p.m. might be, this is standard time, so it might be 7:30 p.m. if you're on daylight time, the moon coming up over the horizon at 0 degrees Aries, 45 minutes, meaning it's almost exactly where the sun is rising at the March equinox. And we can see that this 0 Aries point is under the circlet of the fish. And we'll see that more in a minute. But this is again how the seasons, 0 Aries marking the spring equinox point, the seasons, the signs represent the seasons, and the constellations are the backdrop that these seasons move through over time. And so we can see here the exact full moon at 2:57 a.m. Pacific time. And here's the moon. It's a little bit further than what it was. It was the moon rising the night before was right under the circlet of the fish. Now it's moved a little bit further into the fish constellation. We can also see Jupiter here at 14 Taurus is near the constellation of the Ram. So again, how the seasonal signs are different than the constellations. Neptune at 26 Pisces is right on the edge of the fish, of the head of the fish. So I will also put in the show notes the difference between the signs and constellations. It's a short 15-minute video if you haven't seen it, or even if you have, you might want to go back and watch it again to get that sense of that. Here is the full moon rise on September 29th around 7:10 p.m. It's just cleared the horizon. So it starts to rise a little bit before that. And by now, on that day, it is at 16 Aries. So we can see that on the night before, when the moon was rising, it was rising under the circlet of the fish. And then the full moon is going to be exact in the middle of almost 3 a.m. Standard time. So 3 a.m. Pacific daylight time will be in this part of the sky. And then by the full moon rise that night, it's going to be much further along in the fish. Very amazing. Now, the other thing that's going on, this is 9 p.m. on the same night. We can now the fish is completely risen into the sky. So Saturn will be already in the sky. We won't see Neptune. Jupiter is the moon is approaching Jupiter, and we'll be catching up to Jupiter in the next night or two. So these are some things that you can look at, and when you go out to see the full moon. And again, this will be a perigee close full moon. We'll talk about in a moment. So here we have the water bear where Saturn is at 1 degrees Pisces. Here we have the fish where the moon is at 6 degrees Aries at the, so actually I should have updated that because it's not at 6 degrees anymore. It's more like 16 degrees of Aries. And then we have Jupiter at 14 Taurus in the Ram, and Uranus at 22 Taurus between the Ram and the Bull. And so that gives you more of a perspective of what can be seen in the sky at this time. So the perigee new moon or full moon is always called a supermoon because it's when the it's closest to the Earth. So I've showed this before, but it's always worth coming back to see again. So this is the full moon will rise and look bigger, 14% bigger, and also 30% brighter than when the moon is far away, full moon is far away from the Earth. And again, July 3rd was the first one in Capricorn. August 1st, we had the second one in Aquarius. August 30th, we had the third one in Pisces. And now we have the last of the perigee full moons of 2023 in Aries, and it's this is what really affects the magnetic field of the earth. It affects the weather, and the tides are affected by this full moon. And I will put a link to these. I've done videos on all three. This was my fourth one on these perigee full moons, super moons, as they are called by astronomers and astrologers alike these days. So if you want to find out, this is something I've also included in the other videos. When the moon is rising in your area, I will put this link in the show notes so you can easily access it. And then you just go in and put where you are on the planet, and then it will, and then look for September, and then it will show you what time the moon is rising. So, and setting. So the moon set is first, and then the moon rise is in the second column. So on the 28th, it says the moon is rising at 6:04 p.m. Well, that depends on your horizon line, because I showed you the star map of the moon rising around 6:30 p.m. In Tucson, because it's coming up over the mountain. So it depends on your horizon line. And then, so it's rising a little later each night, and you get a chance to see how that's rising a little, setting a little later each morning as well. So anyway, but on the 29th, the sunset is at 6:11 p.m. So here's the sunrise and sunset. You can also look for that where you are. So at 6:11 p.m. is when the sun is setting, and the moon is rising at 6:35 p.m. So that's pretty close. That's, you know, the definition of a full moon is when the moon is rising and the sun is setting. It's all, the sun and the moon are opposite each other. Plus it's going to be extra big coming up over the horizon. It's going to be spectacular to see. So you may have to be out there a little bit of time to see it, depending on your horizon line. If you have a very low horizon, then you'll see it at the time that they're giving. So one of the things I thought would be fun to look at is Aries gifts, the gifts of Aries, the sacred warrior protector gifts. And we'll also look at the shadow of this, but here we see Wonder Woman. She's protecting the cosmic order. So she definitely represents the Aries mysteries from the feminine perspective. So Aries is fiercely protecting the cosmic order, truth, justice, family, and tribe. It's deeply committed to a noble cause, a worthy mission, and restoring balance. Whatever that worthy mission or noble cause might be, Aries will be 100% all in, living from enthusiasm and saying yes, 100%, yes, I'm all in, yes. And then the courageous, skillful, independent, one-pointed, steadfast, loyal aspects of the Aries warrior protector, whether that's the masculine or feminine, where this is healthy, when this is really healthy energy, being passionate, bold, fiery, enthusiastic, creating a safe space for evolutionary change to occur that furthers cosmic justice. And this is a theme, this is why this theme keeps coming up over and over again. So Aries is here to initiate healthy forms of sovereignty and to protect the rights of all life. It also cultivates trust and camaraderie, free to choose one's own authentic self, strong ego. I'm going to share more about strong ego in a moment, and the freedom to choose your own path. So Aries does not like to be told what to do. So the ego is our self-identity or sense of self. It's not good or bad. So a lot of times ego has been vilified, and it's like, we got to get rid of our ego, but it's a part of you. So it's not something to get rid of. Instead, it's about cultivating a strong ego. Because if you have a weak ego, it means you get upset whenever your identity is challenged. But if you have a strong ego, you adapt, you adjust, and you keep moving. So cultivating a strong ego is part of what this full moon, it's like maybe getting a chance to see how well you're doing with that. Are you are you someone who's been trying to get rid of your ego? This is actually your self-identity and how you have an experience in this reality. That's not helpful. So, it doesn't help to eliminate a part of who we are. So healthy ego is necessary to live a healthy, fully realized life. So we want to cultivate a healthy ego, a strong ego. A healthy ego is strong, it's self-reliant, and trusts itself to make the best choices. A weak ego or a small ego operates from inadequacy, driving a need to be domineering, always right, or self-righteous, filled with opinions of how things should or shouldn't be. A weak ego is often excessively stubborn, narrow-minded, arrogant, narcissistically self-centered, and is always right no matter the cost, even if it costs them a friendship or a job or whatever it might be. But healthy ego is simultaneously confident, resourceful, willing to consider other points of view, while at the same time being genuinely humble, open-minded, and wise. So this is the difference between the weak ego and the strong ego. A healthy, strong ego is one that will not be easily upset based on what else is going on. So the weak ego versus the strong ego. The weak ego will tend to blame others for failure. It will give credit to itself for its success, even if it doesn't deserve it. If there's success, it's like, oh, I'm the one that made that successful, even if other people were part of that, making it successful. Definitely egotistical. It forgets what others have done for it. It remembers what good it has done for others and wants to be remembered and recognized and honored and valued for that, and gets upset if that doesn't happen. And then a weak ego justifies and defends for all of its mistakes. But the strong ego is opposite on all these things. It will take responsibility for failure. It will give credit to others for success. It's humble, and it remembers what others have done for that person. I don't know why it says it, but anyway, a strong ego forgets what good things it has done for others, meaning it doesn't need to have that those accolades constantly being poured upon it, and also will apologize for its mistakes. So just getting the sense of the strong ego, the weak ego, and this full moon illuminating where we're at with that. We may have the opportunity to look at where we are. Are we coming more from a strong ego or a weak ego? Maybe we have a little bit of the strength side of it and a little bit of the weak side of it. Maybe there are things that trigger us and send us into the more weak side of it. But the idea is that we're here to cultivate the strong ego, and that takes time and it's a practice. So just doing whatever it takes for that to happen. Now, in the last few videos, I've come up with songs to connect with the theme of the full moon. And this one came across my screen of awareness. I hadn't thought about it in a really long time. But Tom Petty produced this album called Full Moon Fever. How perfect is that? That was released on April 24th of 1989. And the lead song was I Won't Back Down. So to me, when this song, and I'll share the words with you in a moment, and also I will put in the show notes a link to the song if you want to play the song as part of your full moon ceremony honoring this time. So it's a song that he collaborated with George Harrison, not unlike the song that I shared in the past, Dreamweaver, where there was a collaboration with I think it was George Harrison, one of the Beatles. Anyway, so this is a perfect anthem for anyone committed to standing for justice. And sometimes that's our own justice, being just to ourselves. The song expresses resilience and determination in the face of adversity, and it's committed to personal integrity, makes it an ideal justice tune, and has been used, I guess, that way quite a lot. So the words to the song, well, I won't back down. No, I won't back down. You could stand me up against the gates of hell, but I won't back down. No, I'll stand my ground, won't be turned around, and I'll keep this world from dragging me down. Gonna stand my ground and I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out. I won't back down. Hey, I will stand my ground and I won't back down. Well, I know what's right. I've just got one life in a world that keeps on pushing me around, but I'll stand my ground and I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out. I won't back down. Hey, I will stand my ground. I won't back down and I won't back down. And it goes on saying, I won't back down. But this is the Aries thing. It's like standing for whatever it is, that cause, that mission, that purpose, and not backing down, having the courage to really show up and be in integrity with whatever it is that you're committed to support and to be with. And this is for people who have strong Aries on their natal chart. And this is for everyone who's experiencing this full moon as well. Now, the shadow side of Aries, because of course I shared the gifts of Aries, but the shadow side, it's fighting without a righteous cause or purpose, just fighting, like being a, hired gun, having extreme self-absorption, selfishness, and narcissism, no empathy or compassion, domination, control, conquering, being impatient, want things to happen quickly. I have Aries myself, so I do know about this one a little bit, and I've learned to be over years learned to be a little more patient with things. But when I was in grade school and high school, I recognized that I needed to learn patience because I just didn't have any at the time. So it's something I've been cultivating. This is an energy that can be very impulsive with negative results. So impulsive sometimes, depending on what's inspiring that impulsive action, if it's an inspired action and you just do it in the moment, it'll work out. But if not, maybe not so much. So there can be a lack of commitment to a worthy cause or purpose, ruthless fundamentalism. This is an energy that stands for everyone but themselves in the shadow side of it. And this is the one that I've really come to understand more in recent years, especially as Pluto squared my Venus in Aries, to recognize that I was standing for everybody but myself. And so that can be the negative side or the shadow side of the Aries energy. Being highly competitive in a way that causes negative results. Being competitive is not good or bad. It's how you're being competitive. And then Aries must have their own way regardless of who gets hurt in the process, because they just don't have any compassion or empathy, and they just can run right over people in so doing. So that's one of the shadow sides of Aries. And also being a hero, no matter what the cost to self or maybe even to others. And so this leads me to how I'm going to wrap this up by this Recovering Hero proclamation that was created by one of my dear priestess sisters, Gina Gavaris, in the early 2000s. And many, many, many have told me how much they love this, and especially if they have to reprogram any addicted heroic tendencies. This is me with Gina Dawn back in 1999, when we were facilitating a priestess circle together, a Magdalene circle. And it was not long afterwards that she wrote this, because she actually died in 10 years later, 2009. Yeah, she from cancer at a very young age. And she was a counselor on for one of the Indian tribes here in Arizona. And she just gave so much of herself to that. So she needed to write this. She needed to really anchor this in for herself, because she was definitely recognizing herself as a recovering hero. So here's the proclamation. I have no need to save others. I have no need to rescue others. I have no need to outshine anyone. I have no need to outthink, outperform, outproduce anyone, including myself. I do not need to know anything. I do not need to be an expert. I do not need to fix anyone or change anything. I do not need to dazzle, impress, or inspire anyone. I do not need to be the hero of my own story. In truth, I'm organic, evolving, and fallible. I allow things to unfold naturally, and I trust the flow. I joyfully accept and experience my humanity. I need nothing. All already is. Blessed be. So this is something that if you have tendencies towards being an addicted hero, to maybe really energize this during this full moon time. And so again, if you like this video, be sure you're not subscribed, be sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you get notified when I drop a new video. Also, for more on the zodiacal constellations and how the seasonal signs are moving through them, I will put this link to My Star Alchemy in the show notes. And we are creating a new class that will be starting in November on the stellar gateways. That is going to be amazing. So I'll put a link to that as well in the show notes. I hope this was something that really inspires you around your full moon experience, and looking forward to connecting down the road. Blessed be.